All right, guys, how you doing? Jumping right into it. So as long as people trickling in, it'll be fun. If not, that's okay too. This will definitely be a fun VOD for you guys. I have with me tonight Actual Justice Warrior, goes by Sean. Um, Pretty cool guy. I came across him because with my job, I get to watch videos all the time while working and just listening to a bunch of podcasts. And his videos are very easily consumable. They're very factual. It's very laid out easily for you, and they're kind of entertaining, and it kind of gives you a different perspective and whatnot. But he's with us tonight, and yeah. So, welcome to Twitch. I know you've been on here one other time debating Hassan or Chink's nephew is how we introduce him.
Right. Yeah, I was on Twitch that one time before, and we've been meaning to do this for a while. It's just I've been off in La La Land every time you needed to schedule.
No worries. I get it. I got two kids. I work two jobs and do this for fun. I just started getting into like the political side of stuff, I guess you could say, where I kind of have no qualms of jumping into weird, not necessarily weird debates, but at least having discussions. I think the biggest thing for me is Twitch is a very, very liberal site. I don't know if you've caught that at all. Hassan hasn't even been streaming that long, which is funny. And he still calls himself a small streamer, which I laugh at. But I mean, the emotes that they have on there, there's definitely a very liberal sense with it. They have like the gay pride, transgender pride, lesbian pride, bisexual pride emotes that you can use in chat,
Right.
and stuff like that. So, which is fine. I don't care what you choose to do. I just don't like it when you do it with kids. But that's a whole nother story. We're not talking about that tonight because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't
Right.
think I can get in trouble anyways.
I didn't know Twitch. I didn't know Twitch was very left leaning. I know the Twitch streamers that I've seen, the ones that aren't like the giant gaming streamers,
Yeah.
tend to be left wing. But it's I do response videos to left wingers, so I feel like that's what I was going to encounter anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, what's interesting, congrats on passing Chink's nephew. By the way, that was, as far as sub counts, besides the PewDiePie and T-Series one, that's been one that I've been watching very closely as well. So,
Well, I didn't even know I was in a race with him until he brought it up.
I kind of get that too, because I had one of their mods and on here with one of our discussions, and the thing that they asked me afterwards, like, why don't you have as many viewers? I'm like, because I don't normally do these type of talks, and it's like I'm rebranding everything and kind of doing this whole political-ish type feel, or I don't know. To me, I feel like there's been certain convictions in my heart that I feel like I want to share my feelings and whatnot. And a lot of people are getting older on Twitch, and so it seems to be like a decent platform where people aren't getting deplatformed for saying anything either. And so it's just fun. It's good banter. I think when you have a lot of people in chat and you can have a real time dialogue with people and show that you can kind of have that, it's been a great experience.
Right.
So
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know how, like, what is, because I know the scales are different and subscribers are different on Twitch. What is considered, like, a big Twitch streamer, like, in terms of numbers?
So that's a good question. So they have two different levels now of, like, where you can kind of monetize your channel. I feel like on Twitch it's easier to make money as a smaller channel compared to like YouTube. So I think the YouTube analytics go based on how long people watch you as well as how many video plays you get. Do subscribers don't really have as much of an impact on money wise, right? It just helps as far as people watching the videos because they're going to get alerts sometimes.
It doesn't. They did change the rules that you need 1,000 subscribers and a certain amount of watch hours to make anything from monetization, but they don't impact. They don't give you, subscribing doesn't equal any kind of payment
Okay. Yeah, so the subscribe terminology on Twitch is like somebody actually pays to support the channel. And there's a partner, which I'm a partner, which tends to have a little bit more perks compared to affiliates. And the affiliates they rolled out, I think last year, I want to say. And it's kind of cool because now, like, a lot of people would strive to get this like partner button, like the partner, so they can get the sub button, and then people would just kind of stop. Like it would stop the content for them, or their content would change to monetize, I guess. And so I think it's kind of nice seeing smaller channels deal with having a sub button the whole time, and kind of just dealing with that in general. And plus, it just creates a culture of like, hey, if you want to subscribe to this channel, go ahead and subscribe to this person. So there are some different perks that happened on the back end a little bit, but nothing as crazy as nothing super monetized more. I don't know what their percentage, like there's certain things I can't talk about as far as the paid subs. And then you have follows. So then you have the follows. That's kind of like what a subscriber on YouTube would be. So someone could follow a channel for free, and there's no cost in that whatsoever. It's really, you can watch Twitch for free.
Right.
So
I mean, that's like YouTube. You can watch for free, and you have like different tiers because YouTube has some kind of memberships or whatever.
well, yeah, with
Right.
YouTube Red now, I I have a small YouTube channel. It's like 500 subs, and the only reason I have that is because I got a shout out from one of the guys that I know that we did this game, a mobile game and stuff like that. So a lot of my videos were gaming content related. So,
Shout outs are really important on YouTube.
for sure.
That's why sometimes people ask me because I have guest videos on my channel,
Hmm.
like how to get to do a guest video for me.
Yeah.
It's literally like if you DM me on Twitter and your channel is more than a month old,
Yeah.
and I watch you better make sure that you could front load your videos so that the ones that I watch aren't crazy. Because if I see that you're crazy, then I won't do that. But yeah,
Yeah.
everybody who's ever guested for me, they just asked, and they seem like a reasonable person. So I tell them
Yeah.
don't do anything that will get me a community guideline strike, and I'll upload it and plug your channel because I didn't have larger channel friends when I was coming up.
Yeah.
Except for No Bullshit, I did get into contact with him when I had 200 subscribers.
Okay.
But I found out my audience hates him, which is really fun. It's really funny because behind the scenes he's not that he's not a cool dude in his videos or whatever, but behind
Yeah.
the scenes he's a cool dude. I met his wife.
Okay.
She's a nice person. I was in LA for a whole separate reason. He's
Yeah.
a nice guy, but my audience hates him. So every time I did one collaboration video with him, and I had him on a stream a couple times, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't like him. Don't do that." So I might have lost subscribers for that.
That's funny. Yeah, YouTube back in the day, I know some people would have a different channel for each little thing they did. So they'd have a vlog channel, and then they would have their gaming channel, and then where they would just upload their content. But I think YouTube changed the algorithms now where it doesn't matter, or they've cleaned it up a bit where you can kind of have some of this. I don't know. I'm still not a huge fan of YouTube for me. It's different from a content creator spot because the only thing I know about from the content creation side is doing Twitch stuff, and then kind of uploading clips here and there. And so I know there's a lot of really big gamers that really benefited from being on that platform first and then coming to Twitch, and vice versa. I think I've seen people kind of have really big Twitch followings and then up making some even supplemental income just by doing some of those videos and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Right.
So you got into, would you consider yourself like a political content streamer or content creator, or I don't know, how would you word it?
I do political commentary. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
perfectly fine way to word it.
Okay.
Uh,
And then what
Yeah.
what got you into that? Was it just all like some of the stuff you saw on, because I know a lot of the stuff at first was like the Young Turk related, and just kind of calling their BS out. And so,
Right. Well, I used to I still do different videos besides Young Turks ones.
yeah,
It took me a while to do my first Young Turks video, and then it was really successful, and I was like, let me not do more of them. And then my second one was really successful, and I'm like, yeah, I could probably do more, because I don't want to seem like I'm dogpiling on one organization, but
yeah,
I used to watch the Young Turks when I was never like, I don't have that story where I was like a lefty and then I turned right wing.
yeah.
It's just I used to watch the Young Turks. I was pretty much always a libertarian. I
Okay.
used to watch them as my like liberal basis, because I don't believe you should watch media outlets that you just agree with all the time. So I
Yeah.
know a lot about them, and I don't like have any animosity towards the vast majority of people there. I don't know any of the people there.
Yeah.
So it's just like I just have like a lot of background. So like when I see these new videos and I see them completely like invert previous positions when it's convenient, like I feel like I have to make response videos.
For sure, yeah, because I think some of your popular uploads I'm looking at right now is the Adam Ruins Everything with the gun fails, which is sitting at 570,000 views from a month ago, which is really good. And then you have the Chink's Nephew's the Worst, which is sitting at 340 after a year, which is, that's a lot of views, man. So
Yeah, what's funny is I dropped the Adam Ruins Everything video. I was editing it when Jank's Nephew was when somebody messaged me that Jank's Nephew was reviewing that video, the one that I say he's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that for like, he talked about it for like 40 minutes on his stream, and he just got like basic things about my political positions wrong. So
Okay.
I went into his chat to message him,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, you're wrong. And I like wrote out a big gigantic comment, because I was like, he's gonna block me right after this.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, come on the show. So I stopped editing the Adam Ruins Everything video to do that 2 hours with him.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious that he insulted my subscriber count over and over again, because that video ended up being crazy successful. And I think I closed the gap between him and me. Like, most of the gap was closed before I even made my video telling people that I was on a conversation with him.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it was around like 20, I think it came across you around 23,000 subscribers, and I think he had like 25 or 28 at the time, and then I think that dropped, and it was like within a couple thousand or something like that, from if I'm remembering correctly.
oh, I was at 13,000, because he kept saying 13,000 over and over again. Like, I
That's right.
tripled my base in the last month and a half. Luckily.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting, because I don't know. For me, it was when I was like, oh, hey, we need to have someone else who's just like on Twitch, and that's why I was like, hey, I need to start kind of doing some of these type of things, and not necessarily call out, because in terms of service, you can't really call other streamers out, or depending on what you're saying about them, they get kind of iffy about it. But there's a lot of people that have been going through like the videos, so like I've seen some of the people just rip him to shreds with the Jesse Lee Peterson thing, which it's just entertaining, but like it's turned into a meme on Twitch, where people just go amazing. They just type it every now and then, which is funny. I get it, but
Jesse Lee Peterson is a national treasure in a lot of ways.
yeah.
And the thing is that I saw a trailer for the interview. Like, Jesse Lee Peterson's channel, The Fallen State, puts out a trailer.
Okay.
So I saw the trailer, and I was debating on whether or not I wanted to make a response video to it or not. And if I'm gonna make a response video, since I don't script my videos, I go off memory.
Okay.
Like, occasionally I'll take a pause to like watch a portion of the clip, so I could, not blatantly misstate what people are saying.
Right.
But I try to go off of memory, because I don't like that. Like the idea of reading seems really formulaic, and it just doesn't work for me. So I don't watch other people's videos before I make my response on the same subject. So I saw all these videos that I knew were going to be hilarious because I watched the full interview, but I couldn't watch them because if I'm going off of memory and I remember what somebody else will say about it, then I'm like afraid that I'm going to say the same thing, and then somebody's going to be like, you copied this guy.
You ripped that off. I see it in your history. You watched him say it. Yeah. No, he had Destiny on there, and once he had Destiny on there, I was like, oh no, he's gonna run through. I go, oh, here comes Hassan. Sure enough, he he did. It's kind of funny because there's a guy named Trainwrecks TV who's really big. He actually lives in the same city where I'm at, and I've met him a couple times. Super nice guy, and he's actually called him out like with this stuff, and I kind of like it because a lot of the stuff is very emotional bias. Is with some of the responses. I remember even Destiny when with the Houston, the girl who was killed in Houston, that they removed almost all those videos from that, right? The one with that Sean King was trying to blast, saying it was like a hate crime at first, or alleged hate crime.
They removed some of them. Some of them they just changed up the title. But left them in full. They follow a specific pattern. So I didn't do a specific Jasmine Barnes video. I might in the future because their statement afterwards, where they try to on the main Young Turk show, where they tried to frame the people who were attacking them for obviously taking this case and using it to promote like racial division. Yeah. They had one of the panelists say, oh, you guys are trying to make us not believe black victims. And it's like, you're insane. Like, you went from standing on the grave of a 7-year-old girl to now hiding behind a 7-year-old, like a dead 7-year-old's family. Like, it's just like, it's disgusting to watch. But they always, they follow that pattern. I've done a video where they covered a story that they thought was a possible hate crime. It was some 94-year-old man that was attacked. A Mexican guy, and they yelled like, go back to Mexico, and they'll say, oh, you know, they'll just mention Trump and talk about how Trump's rhetoric inspires this kind of thing, even though there's no evidence they're related. And like later they'll do the video and they'll be like, okay, yeah, this happened, and they'll just, you know, they'll make it about something else on their side of the spectrum. Like they can't ever tell a story that's, you know, not related to their political beliefs.
Yeah, and I think
like, it's strange.
What's scary about it is you can use a word that kind of absolves you from, I guess, the responsibility of doing that, but yet the damage is done already. And it's kind of like, well, they hear the accusation more than they hear the apology. And so it's like the damage is already done from something. Kind of like what we're seeing with the Nick Sandman, is that his name, for the MAGA kid?
Yeah.
Which I think this is kind of like the first time where I think hopefully there's some people that are kind of waking up to just not reacting immediately to what you see, and just kind of basing a narrative of stuff. How do you?
I would hope that Nick Sandman would wake people up, but I decided to go into, so I don't use Facebook, but I have one for like personal stuff. So I saw people posting about that after the story came out. Yeah. And I would get into these long arguments with them, and I'm like sending them videos that show that this part of the claim is disputed. Yeah. And they're like doubling down. And then somebody sent me a video, like a Young Turks video. Yeah. Like as like the final rebuttal, and of course it was of Cenk's nephew. So yeah, like I just laughed, and then I'm like, why am I wasting 200 comments? Like part of the genesis of my YouTube channel is I used to write out my thoughts and like post it. Yeah. I'm like, why am I spending all this time doing that when I can make a video and like I'll get the same amount of negative feedback, like more so, but I'll get way more positive feedback and way more people will see it instead of this like person that I knew in elementary school. Yeah. Right. But yeah, they would not like to them, the fact that Nathan Phillips is Native American and that kid is white wearing a Trump hat, that's it. That's the whole story. I'm hoping, and I don't root for people to be lying to the police, but the Jussie Smollett case looks like really suspicious. And if it comes out that he is, if he is not telling the truth, and this is staged in some way, I'm hoping that since he's a celebrity, and they have to report it, I'm hoping that can wake people up. But I don't think the Nick Sandman thing is, because they're still putting out videos about how those kids did something bad.
Yeah, the thing that irritated me was like the first thing they asked him was like, "Is there anything you want to apologize for?" Basically, they worded it that way. I'm like, you're basically incriminating the kid with the way you're phrasing your question. The first question right out the gate was to like, "Well, do you want to apologize for what you've done wrong?" I was like, he didn't do anything wrong. Like, and I get
he stood there.
Yeah, I get that the hat invokes emotion, which it shouldn't. There's a shirt that, if you're a Christian, that invokes emotion too. Like it's this. It's actually banned from eBay. The only reason I know that because I work at eBay as well. But they, I'm trying to think of, it's the Piss Christ one where the artist basically took a picture of like a jar of piss and he put like a crucifix in there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That was actually paid for by the national, like some federal government program that was funding the art.
Yeah.
Like, so that has an extra thing to it.
No, for sure. I don't know the full history about it, other than the fact that I know people are offended by it, and they like even eBay won't even touch it. So it's like, okay, well, that's something that's literally mocking like a religion. I go, but the MAGA thing isn't a religion. It's not even an ideology. I mean, frickin' Bill Clinton said "Make America Great Again" in one of his campaign runs. So I'm like, it's like a slogan.
it's the slogan for one of the two candidates and now the president of the United States, and it's not like a fringe party. He ran on the Republican ticket.
Yeah.
So like you can have an emotional reaction to the MAGA hat, but if you assume that the person, I had a guy do a guest video who wears a MAGA hat, who's an Army veteran, and like he's married to an African American woman, and he's very proud of that. He said it in the video.
Yeah, I really saw that.
And a beautiful black woman, like to quote him accurately.
For sure.
He's a good guy, but he doesn't wear it for racist reasons. So you can feel that way, but you're like projecting that onto, in this case, children that don't feel that way. Like it's not like this is a historically evil symbol. Like that's all put on them. And there's cases all over of people freaking out over the hat.
Well, the thing too, you have the blue check brigade is what I think I've heard it said once on about the Twitter people who, he has such a punchable face, and then like Kathy Griffin wanted to dox them. I'm like, if the one side did this to the other side, we wouldn't hear the end of it. But I feel that Republicans are so not necessarily passive. That's not the right word. I feel like that side
a lot of that is the right word, because a lot of them immediately were tweeting out against the kid when the initial video broke.
That's true.
And I remember I was on Twitter and I saw the video come up, but it had no sound, the first one that I saw.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I'm like, and the quote tweet was just like, outrageous, horrible, how could this happen? So I looked at the video and I was like, I don't get what's going, like what it is that I'm supposed to be
for
mad
sure
at.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't hear any sound or anything like that, and the only thing that kind of was weird to me was like seeing the kids hooting and hollering, but like the fact that they were doing their school chants, I don't know if they were doing it at that time there, but I'm like going, dude, I'm 16, I know what it's like being there. Like I don't see the point of being all like, I was a dickhead, but I mean, like I wouldn't know what to do in that situation. And if anything, like the situation should be, applauded. The fact that people can have different views, have a peaceful, whatever you want to call it, and walk away and still be respectful of each other. And that's not the case.
Those kids they were chanting their school chants before the native guy showed up.
Right.
But like when I see the videos of the Hebrew Israelites insulting the kids, if I'm 16 years old and you call my friend the N-word, like, we're fighting.
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like that. So these kids to me were already far beyond. Like, I'm not like the kids are dorks.
Yeah.
Like, they asked their teacher if they could do their school chants.
Yeah.
Like, that is not how I would have handled it at 16. So they're dorks. And they're being attacked for being dorks, basically.
Yeah. Pretty much. And then everyone's just okay with, like, villainizing kids. You know, when, I don't know.
I think that this is the one thing that I was actually annoyed with the Joe Rogan Jack Dorsey interview.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, because he asked Jack Dorsey about specific cases, and every time Dorsey was like, I don't know. And, like, these weren't just like, you know, the thing with Joe Rogan's comedian friend saying he's going to kill his other comedian friend and getting banned.
Yeah.
I believe Jack Dorsey doesn't know about that.
Right.
But the biggest story on Twitter for 3 days he doesn't know about, Milo Yiannopoulos, like, he doesn't recall, like, why he was banned. Like, I get he's a CEO, he's doing other things, but these were, like, Milo on Twitter, people don't remember. That was, like, a huge issue for people on the left. Like, there was a story about how Seth Rogen was mad at him, the CEO, Dorsey.
Yeah.
Because he was DMing him to ban certain people that were they were either white nationalists or like actual white nationalists, or in Seth Rogen's mind they were white nationalists.
Right.
So, like, there are people like that are DMing him about, like, specific people, and I don't expect him to remember all of them, but you're telling me, like, he had no comment on why Kathy Griffin can call for the doxing of children and not get even a suspension. Why Reza Aslan? There was a guy, I put him in my video, I forgot because I don't know music.
Yeah.
He said that he would give 18 signed vinyl
Yeah,
albums.
it was some, he'd give his, some freaking country artist. I don't even like country music to begin with, and that was stupid as well. There was a writer that was also a writer for SNL that offered to perform to give BJ's to whoever put his video of, like, kicking him in the nuts or something like that. So
yeah, they were legitimately offering bounties. Like, the vinyl albums, the blowjob is not, you know, that's not real.
Right.
Like, it's not real. Like, she's not gonna go around doing that. Like, that's not gonna happen. But, like, the vinyl albums, that's like a tangible product that you could feasibly send to somebody.
Well,
like,
then then, like, you don't really have to tell somebody you're going to pay them to do something. If you incite them to violence or call them a call of action, which is what they wanted to, you know, blame some of the other stuff, like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you move into in terms of legality, like, you a general call for violence actually is still considered First Amendment protected, but a specific call for violence against a specific person is where you run into problems.
Right.
And the fact that you're offering a bounty, like, that only makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
So legally there could be legal consequences, and I'm not just talking about civil, but criminal consequences for doing that. But Twitter's like, we're gonna suspend, you know, this guy for reviewing the Ghostbusters movie and retweeting anti-Leslie Jones memes for life, but we're not gonna, you know, that's what Milo Yiannopoulos got banned for, by the way. We're not gonna say anything, and, like, I don't have any information, like, about all these blue check marks threatening, you know, violence against these kids. Like, you know, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, the double standard, and that is definitely evident. There's I don't know if you know who Destiny is.
I've seen his parts of his JonTron debate and parts of his no bullshit debate.
Okay, yeah. So he he got banned from Twitter recently, like just like permaban, and he doesn't even know why. I don't know if he does partially know why. I haven't looked into it, but he's definitely someone who's not on the right side. So I don't know if he was just like a target because they're trying to even up the score or what.
Right.
But it's still, you can't say anything that
Was
they
he
view.
was he verified before he got banned?
I don't think he
Do you know?
was. I don't think he was.
Because I think they'll ban. I think they'll ban. You know, like I don't know. I'm gonna say little people, but that like you know what I mean in terms of following.
Well,
Like
I don't know how big his Twitter following is, but I mean, I know his YouTube, he has over 160,000
yeah,
subscribers.
but I'm saying like
Yeah,
unverified. Like I'll count your following is like
mine's
it's
small.
weird because there are people who have like I remember I was gonna do a video on this because there are people who have like 400,000 Twitter followers
Yeah,
and they're not verified because they make anti-SJW content on the internet. And then like there were people, and I was juxtaposing them. This was like the premise of a video that never got made. I was
yeah,
juxtaposing them to like Riley J. Dennis, who at the time had like 10,000 Twitter followers and was verified.
yeah,
So like I consider like little in terms of following, but also in terms of verification. So I'm sure they ban a bunch of unverified people all the time,
yeah,
but they don't. Twitter doesn't verify certain. They don't verify certain people that are conservatives, and they'll verify smaller left-wing creators
hmm,
because for some reason verification has been seen as an endorsement ever since they took away Milo's verification checkmark as a punishment. So
interesting.
yeah, so I'm sure they ban like smaller people all the time, but
Yeah,
like
I always laugh at like the ones that are verified. They only have like 500 following, and you look at their thing, and they're like a journalist or some sort of thing. I'm like, really? You've done one article about baking cookies, and then you say that
right.
you're yeah. I some of the rules of applying for it, it was like you have to have like a website, or something like that. You have to like send them your ID. Um, yeah, and I applied for it at one point, but I'm not a big enough streamer yet, I guess. But I know some people
Right.
who just got it recently, and a couple people like from Twitch, but most of the esport organizations, I know a lot of people get it from there. Um, but yeah,
Well, it's a good system to have because the reason it existed, um, and it's part of the reason why Donald Trump's Twitter is called Real Donald Trump,
yeah,
is because before it existed, people would just like assume your identity
yeah,
on Twitter, and they would gain like thousands of followers. I remember this happened to Tony La Russa, who was the manager for the St. Louis Cardinals.
yeah,
Some guy was pretending to be Tony La Russa, and Tony La Russa had to start a real Twitter because this guy was giving out like lineup information that was being reported by the papers and injury reports. Like he was just messing with Tony La Russa.
that's funny.
And like you know like a lot of these baseball managers are old. He did not want to be on Twitter, but he had to get on it so he could do it. But that's part of the reason why verification exists.
Yeah,
And then later it became like people said that it had to be an endorsement, but the whole point is somebody can't go on if I don't have a Twitter, somebody can't say I'm Sean Fitzgerald,
yeah,
send me money via Twitter and scam a bunch of people.
yeah. That's what it was for at first. My impression was like, oh, that's the real Kim Kardashian handle or
Yeah.
whatever else. Now it's just like, okay, you write a paper we like, cool. Here you go. Here's a check mark. Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, it's definitely if you're connected to an organization, it definitely helps. Like there's
Yeah,
obviously, and I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing that they're verifying you, you know, based on other things besides followers.
yeah,
But it just like you can see where it lies. Like I do work with the David Horowitz Freedom Center,
yeah,
and I looked for David Horowitz to follow him on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, I can't find him because he wasn't verified. And I'm like, obviously, this guy's been running this think tank. He's a best-selling author of like 12 books.
Yeah.
I'm like, obviously he's verified on Twitter. Turns out he's not. Right? It's crazy. He's just not verified. You know.
That's crazy.
That's just how it is. So somebody presumably could just, buy a bunch of followers and solicit donations on behalf of his nonprofit and scam a bunch of people. But,
yeah, that's terrible when you hear like the GoFundMe's and they take advantage of that stuff. It's freaking sucks. I hate that stuff.
Yeah, and the internet's so big. Like there could be somebody scamming. There could be somebody scamming somebody out of money in my name. I hope not.
Well, the moment that they had Cody Parkey, that they were saying that Eagles fans were Venmoing, or I think it was Venmo. Is it Venmo? What's one of the cash apps or something like that?
Venmo is one of them.
And so Eagle fans are sending money to Cody Parkey for missing the field goal in the playoffs. And so all of a sudden you see all these Cody Parkey accounts popping up on there. People trying to play as the kicker to get some money, which I thought was funny that it was legit one. I think one of his buddies sent it as a joke, and then it turned out to be like a bunch of other fans started doing it, and that tweet went viral. It was, so what other? Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you? Never mind. It's actually not important. Ask me the question you were gonna ask.
Do you have any other like content? Like, are you looking forward to the election stuff to cover? Because that's probably just going to give you a lot of stupid comments and stuff to kind of fact check. I guess.
I despise presidential campaigns. I did a video about the female candidates. I kind of can't wait for more male candidates on the Democratic side to declare themselves eligible, because they deserve a video. It just happens that mostly women ran, so I had a theme to go with.
Yeah.
Although people are mad at me that I left out Tulsi Gabbard for my video, and I'm like, the tone of that video was very condescending and mocking. Yeah. And Tulsi Gabbard, like, I don't agree with her. Like, a lot of people are like, Tulsi Gabbard names radical Islamic terrorism, therefore she's a good person, or like a good on policy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with her. She has a lot of Bernie Sanders-ish positions that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
But she left the Hawaii State Legislature to go fight in Iraq. Like, I'm not going to put her in a video, the same video where I make fun of Elizabeth Warren for pretending to be a Native American. Like, she deserves a little more respect than that, and she she has no chance to. So it's like I'm gonna leave out a bunch of the male Democratic candidates, like something Castro, the former mayor of whatever city in Texas that I forgot. It might have been San Antonio, which is where I was born. So that's weird that I would forget that. Him. I'm gonna leave him out because he's completely irrelevant unless he does something really dumb. Like, I can't wait for that.
Beto's gonna announce that he's gonna run, or supposedly.
Robert ORourke.
You mean Robert?
My favorite thing about Beto O'Rourke is that he tried to out Latino a guy named Cruz. And like, I feel for the dude, because he has an Irish last name. I have an Irish last name.
Yeah.
But I'm actually half Hispanic, and I'm pretty sure Beto O'Rourke is not in any way, shape, or form Hispanic.
Yeah.
I
feel like
I could be wrong on that though. So who knows? Sure. Maybe he's like 14%. Some weird number that he got from 23andMe.
I mean, he's hanging around the president of Mexico long enough. Or at least that's the meme that they're going on with Pelosi, and they're like, "Oh, he's part of the cartel." I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
The funny thing about O'Rourke is that supposedly the Obama team is getting behind his presidential run. Which I would understand if he won, because there's a thing in American politics where you're considered a good candidate just for winning being a blue candidate that wins in a red state, therefore you're considered a presidential candidate. So Mitt Romney, the reason he was considered like this amazing presidential candidate is because he was a Republican who won in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Like as a governor. But like that like no people don't care about that. Like Obama was a Democrat who won in Chicago. Like that's one of the blue in Illinois, which is a solid blue state.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't matter. But so Obama's supposedly getting behind O'Rourke even though he lost.
Well, I feel like
he's
just going to get eaten up by Trump making fun of him that he lost to Cruz. I'm like, oh, he's going to have so much confidence going into this thing. And the State of the Union, you said you just recently watched it, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And I don't think it's completely fair for people to rip into, people sitting for certain, like, in protest with certain things that they don't agree with. However, one of the things I thought was very disappointing was the abortion thing, which we don't have to go into because you mentioned something that's not
yeah, but what was being talked about was what you call it, like late term abortion and after birth abortion, which is also known as infanticide. And like to me that's crazy because I used to see a girl because I live in New York City now, so I used to see a girl who was like ultra liberal from an ultra liberal family, like feminist to like the max. Well, very nice girl though. We never talk politics because that would make the conversation just not fun. But she's like the most she gave money to Planned Parenthood every month.
Yeah.
But even she was like, back then she was like, yeah, well, if a baby can survive outside, obviously you can't kill it. Like, so even like to somebody who I would have considered far left, 5 years ago, what's being proposed now would have been like alien and absurd. But now it's like, after the kid's born, like you heard the Northam audio, they'll have a discussion on whether or not to resuscitate it. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. So my experience with that, like I'm definitely pro-life, and I'm not necessarily like, I'm not anti-pro-choice in certain situations, and those two situations are ones that are very, 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 very minute, which is in the case of like rape or incest and stuff like that, which, an argument can be made too that there's been babies who came out of a very disgusting thing like that and have had a tremendous impact. So I don't know, like I struggle with that one, but majority of them, when they're being done for convenience or for other reasons than that, and yes, they're making the argument of like, hey, it's not going to happen that late. And I think the terminology he used was incorrect, is what people are mad at, because they're saying,
he said executed, which was not right.
Yeah. And so I get that portion of it, but I mean, they're being so critical of everything he does, like and everything he says, and it's not
to the point about them being overly critical.
Yeah.
There was a fact check where he said a third of the women who come up from Mexico, who come over the border illegally from Mexico, are sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
And some fact checking agency fact-checked him false and said it's actually 31% according to statistics. Which it's the way that they fact-check is so absurd.
Yeah.
But so like I the thing about abortion that I'll say is that it used to be that there were like two kind of fringe positions. And one was after the kid is viable and can be born, that it's okay to kill it. Like that was considered always a fringe position.
Mm-hmm.
And especially after the kid is born, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then the other fringe position, and I don't even think the rape and incest, I actually think there's a principled argument to be made that doesn't affect whether or not the child should be born or not.
Right.
But I think the other one was like, if there's like a problem with the pregnancy that's going to kill both the mother and the child. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, and some people are like, well, you still can't abort. Like, to me, that was the fringe pro-life position, because literally, 100% that both of them are going to die in that scenario.
Yeah.
Like that's to me, that's nonsense. Like, those were the two fringe positions, and I don't know many pro-life people that would say that it's not okay if literally both of them 100% are going to die. But I do now know a bunch of pro-choice people, and it's becoming the mainstream Democratic position that perfectly viable children can be killed.
Yeah.
So.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I was in my situation with one of my first daughter. She was born at 32 weeks, and my wife had HELLP syndrome and preeclampsia, which meant her like blood pressure was really low, and the baby, like, we almost lost the baby, almost lost her. So in that situation, like, it's kind of scary. Would a doctor in that situation recommend that we'd abort the baby as opposed to trying to, do emergency C-section? That's what scares, I think, me with some of it, because if that's an option now, that's really sad to me, because like my baby, she's 4 now, you couldn't even tell anything was wrong with her and stuff like that. And there's so many stories that you hear about viability. I'm like going, well, freaking no baby is viable. A baby is going to need someone to be there to help it grow until it's of age, essentially.
I think the way that people use viability is like it can survive outside the womb, and that includes with technology and all that. Yeah. But yeah, I think I talked to an OBGYN, because one of my friends sees an OBGYN in a romantic context, and he explained that after a certain point there's no abnormality where he as a doctor would recommend there's no problem that he would recommend that late in the game, just not doing a C-section or inducing labor.
Exactly.
So it's I'm talking about like before, there's like this like unimplanted, like I'm not very I'm more medically literate than the average person, but not an expert.
Right.
But like if the embryo is not implanted in the right place, then like it's like just growing in a place where it's not going to make it past, like let's say 15 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like both the baby and the mother are going to die. We don't have any technology whatsoever that can bring a 15-week a 15-week like baby in the womb to be alive. It's like in that scenario, I think that most people will be like, yeah, obviously, like that's, to me, that's not even like that's borderline not even an abortion. That's like a necessary medical procedure, because abortion is kind of elective.
Right. And I think that's what gets misconstrued, I think, with people who are pro-life. Like, we're definitely not, or at least the ones that I know, like, if it's coming down to where one of the lives is going to be drastically affected, then obviously we want to make sure, if both lives are there, we need to make sure which one's going to have the best shot. I don't know. That's not up to me to make that decision, and it's a very rare one-off thing from my understanding as well. So it's and that's the thing that's scary, is you're now passing legislation based on a very, very minute one-off situation, as opposed to
we're talking about the margins for the most part. Like pre this crazy new legislation, we were always talking about the margins. Like it's like 1% of like 1.5% of abortions were performed third trimester, because most of the states didn't allow it.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going on with New York and New Jersey's is they added a vague mental health component to the law.
Well, they didn't even say mental health. It says I had it pulled up on my phone. I dissected this a lot, and I had a lot of flack for this, and I said the other thing that they also took away in the law, and it they worded it, and if it's going to affect her life or health. And so it doesn't specify like your physical health, like you can die from this, and that's the only situation.
It might be differently worded in the Virginia one than the New York one, but yeah, but like your temporary mental health, like depression during pregnancy is super common, especially like later. Like that's not
postpartum depression is a very common thing.
You want to hear another thing related to Trump's State of the Union?
Yeah.
So during his State of the Union, he pointed out that somebody was executed on, or not executed, killed on the 7 train line in New York. He didn't say the 7 train line. I know that because I just happen to live in New York.
Yeah.
It was a gang related shooting, and he said it was an MS-13 shooting.
Yes.
So the guy who pulled the trigger was an illegal immigrant. Like, they just found that. It was just reported today.
Yes.
Like, ICE confirmed it, and he didn't know that at the time, and he didn't say it, but yeah. So, and I've seen that video because that video was circulating. It was one of those weird situations because it was so close to me that the video was like, you know, a friend of a friend of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Was the one who actually like shot the video or something. Like, it was like, you know, like 4 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
So I saw the video before it was on the news.
Oh, wow.
Like, it happened Super Bowl Sunday, and you know, it's the 7 train. If like, to give you like, it's like the one of the major trains from that connects Manhattan to Queens. So like,
okay.
I know like literally 200 people a day that take the 7 train every single day. So yeah, so like everybody was sending me that video, and then all of a sudden he mentioned it, and it turns out to be an illegal immigrant, and it's you know, it's a horrible situation. It was both gang. They were both gang members, as far as I know now. Not to disparage the person who died, but
right.
It was strange that after that was mentioned in the State of the Union, if we're gonna, I don't like to get into the applause or no applause, but you see like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman that I don't make videos about because everybody talks too much about her.
Yeah.
You see her kind of leaning in and like whispering to somebody. There's a chance that her district extends far enough to that stop, because I know the 7 train goes through her district.
Okay.
Like, so like that could have been one of her constituents, and it's like, you know, like you can't stand for them arresting like this guy and other gang members that have done similar things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the other position too, like he obviously talked about the wall. Do you feel like it's a necessity, but it's not the end all, or do you feel like it should be built?
I think in terms of there's like 2 components to it. There's strategically and what you call it. There's strategically and to actually address the problem. So obviously a physical barrier does like help. It helps stem illegal immigration. Like, you know, it's clearly easier to walk over a line if there's nothing obstructing you than it is to, you know, like the idea that walls don't work at all is crazy.
They're immoral though. They're immoral, and they don't.
They're so immoral. They're everywhere, and people go visit a giant one in China. Millions of people every year.
Yeah.
Take pictures with it. You know, near that immorality. But yeah, But it's actually really important strategically, because once you build something, once you put something in the ground, it's hard to take it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like Trump should have pushed for the wall if he wanted the wall. Like if his goal was to have a wall, barrier, whatever you want to call it, he should have pushed for that when he had full Republican control of Congress, and then made the Democrats shut down the government earlier when the Republicans had the full majority.
Yeah.
And once he shut down the government, he should have held the line. And I became more active on Twitter during the shutdown, just coincidentally.
Yeah.
Because people started engaging with me more. So I'm like, I'm gonna do this more. And I was pointing out that Canada has private air traffic control, and the TSA, like there are airports that actively want to opt out of TSA screening right now. Right. San Francisco Airport has private screeners, and they've been proven to be more effective. So he should have started approving applications to hire private screeners, like as the shutdown went on, because the Democratic Party wants those government workers because they want the TSA to eventually unionize and all that.
Yeah.
Like but you need to like put pressure on them, and he didn't do that, and it was just I think he did not handle the shutdown well, and that's why he lost the shutdown. Like, people are saying, oh, he's going to do it again after he rallies people after the State of the Union, but you have to put pressure on your opponent. Like, I say this all the time. The main goal in politics is to solidify while fragmenting your opponent's base.
Right.
And the labor portion of the Democratic base, like, does not like illegal immigrants. Like, they don't. They are actively opposed to them. But
Right.
they coalesce under the Democratic Party because they feel like the Democratic Party is better for labor. So if you start making long-term changes against the labor, like against that base,
Mm-hmm.
like you start getting rid of what could be a potentially, God forbid, a giant, unionized workforce that is the TSA,
Right.
then you're breaking their base because labor's not going to like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's good policy to not have the TSA. They're not that effective.
No.
It's better policy to let airports work out their own security.
Yeah.
Like, and we're paying, like, I get there's like a national security element to it, but we're subsidizing the airlines in that way.
Right.
And the FAA, like, their air traffic controllers are slower. Like, Canada, socialist Canada has private air traffic control, and they have much, like, their on-time flight ratio their airlines are more efficient. Like, flights leaving and landing on time
Mm-hmm.
it's much higher in the in Canada than the United States. So, like, they need to step it up.
Yeah, I always get scared when I have to leave from Fresno because it's almost like a guaranteed I'm going to get delayed or something's going to happen. So, like,
I got delayed in an airport recently for 5 hours.
You mean you can't find that one screw? It's in Zimbabwe. You can't get it over here sooner. Forget who was the comedian who said that. I stole that. Sorry, guys. I stole that comedic joke. Yeah, there's just so much, and what's funny too is, like, with the approval rate, or not the approval rate, they did a poll of CBS, which is not a fan of Trump. It was my guess, and everyone's making a big deal about it that 76% of people liked what Trump said, and I felt like part of it was like a rah thing, and that's what usually sometimes the State of the Union, you don't want to really, like, say, oh, we're kind of effed, guys.
Right. But that's like every State of the Union, because they're I mean, Trump is not the best speaker, but especially on prompter, he's better. His best moments, in my opinion, were where he went off the cuff, like where he told the Democratic women, he's like, "Don't sit down yet. You're gonna like this next part," and he smiled at him. Like, that was great. That was the best possible Trump that Trump can be.
He even called him out. It's like, "Hey, you guys weren't supposed to do that. What's going on? You were supposed to sit down the whole time, basically."
Yeah, but, like, they what you call it, like, there's always high, like, you go look at the polls of Obama's State of the Unions, they're always high approval because
yeah, I think I lost you for a second, but yeah.
Oh.
No, it's he'll have higher approval because it's tailored to both sides. You're trying to rally the troops for whatever agenda you're trying to push.
It's tailored toward the president, like, and you're always going to have the base that it didn't matter what he said. He could have said, you know what, Hillary Clinton should have won the election. I'm gonna resign / somehow pass power to her.
Yeah.
And they would have 28% of Americans would have still hated Trump's speech. Like, that same 28%, they'd be like, "Orange man bad," and thank you. Like, it didn't matter what he would have said.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. Yeah, I think when people, I don't know, there used to be a time where you used to be able to talk about this sort of stuff and have fun with, like, these sort of debates, or even if you don't necessarily fully agree with the person, and get back to that where you can have these discussions, and as ugly as it can get, sometimes, still crack that beer afterwards and talk about something else that you do agree on. And I think that it's so polarizing to one side or the other. It's like you have to have I don't know if it's a mix of a side is just too emotional, but there was Joe Rogan's show. He had this guy on. He's talking about how a lot of these kids who were born in like 1994 and around that time, they basically grew up with social media their whole life, and that's why we're seeing this like effect on like college campuses and all this weird stuff, is because they didn't have to worry. They didn't get to go out and play as much. It was weird. He kind of said a mix of that, but then also the fact of the social media portion of it. I think you talk to people a certain way that you wouldn't in person, and then like with confrontation, once that confrontation happens, you either block or hide or run away or do whatever else. And if that happens to you in person, those same tactics aren't healthy. You know what I mean? Like.
Right. Well, I sent out a video coincidentally that's somewhat related to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it on Twitter, and it was two 11-year-old girls who run makeup Instagrams.
Yeah.
Pause, so you could take that in. And they were savaging each other. Like they were streaming together, like a collaborative stream.
Yeah.
And they were savaging each other, like about how they put their lipstick on. And there were 600 live viewers. And I saw it on Twitter, 400,000 people watched the video because it was crazy.
Yeah.
But there were 600 live viewers, which is, you do streaming, that's not easy to get.
No.
So so these kids, like, first of all, kids make up crazy, like that young.
Yeah.
Special occasions, whatever. I'm not a parent, so I can't, whatever people do with their kids, whatever. But a makeup Instagram, like you're not supposed to have an Instagram until you're 13. Yeah. But like those kids are living their whole life on Instagram. Like I still remember when you rented videos. I still remember when I'm pretty young-ish. I'm in the millennial range.
Okay.
But I remember when like the internet kind of, became a thing in the public. Like, there was a time when nobody had an internet, and then we had dial. I have an AOL username.
Yeah.
Like I remember that, and like these kids have not only grown up with social media, but they've also grown up with like high-speed internet on demand. Like I see them with the iPads and all that, and a lot of it, I think a lot of the fear over it is kind of, overblown, just because. These kids are.
It's like, not real. It's a false fear. It's not healthy. It's a.
Well, I'm saying the fear about like how unhealthy it is. I don't know how much. Some percentage of that is, this is different from when I was a kid.
Right.
And therefore it's bad. And like it's a lot of people saying this from like the 1980s and like the 1970s. It's like. Yeah, that's a time when like kids were being kidnapped like at rates 10 times higher than what's happening now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like it's there's some new problems definitely with kids being on social media so young.
And the only thing they had to counteract that was making sure your kids got printed so they can figure out if it was you when they found the body. If you think about it, that was the tactic back then. Like, why am I getting? Anyone who grew up in the 80s knows they got fingerprinted, and they're wondering why they had to get fingerprinted like they're a criminal or something. Like, no, it's kind of morbid when you think about it now. That was to identify you if you turned up dead somewhere. They couldn't find you.
But I think there's like a line. Like I didn't have a cell phone until I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
And it was like not a smartphone. It was a Motorola Razor, which at the time,
phones.
Was like the hottest thing in town.
Hey man, if you got Snake, you were the coolest kid. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I'm saying like it what you call that, like that's what I had like in high school. These kids have smartphones and iPads at like 5.
Yeah.
Like, like you need to go out and like play in the dirt. Like I do believe part of that, but also like I think some of it is overstated. Like how the world's becoming more dangerous. It's not. It is becoming less dangerous.
For sure. And I think the scary thing is the bullies back then, once you went home, they didn't really have access to you. Now that they have access to you 24/7 through social media, that's a whole nother beast too. Like that's something that people don't really fully think about. Or
And it's and even if you like block them or whatever, they can still like publicly shame you and like dog you out on social media. I think that's like a new level, and that's where like that's where it is worse. But it used to be like kids could beat the shit out of each other and and like nobody would care. But now like kids throw punches at each other and like it's like assault charges.
Yeah.
So like some places it's better, some places it's like worse. But yeah, that the fact that if you take an embarrassing picture back in the day, somebody can photocopy it and send it around to the whole school, right? And it would be really embarrassing for you.
Yeah.
But now they put it on Facebook and it lives there forever.
Yep.
Like that's completely there's some ways where it's much worse, and like overall we may be getting better, but there's some like people that are not ready for the internet, and children are among them.
Yeah. Well, shoot, freaking even adults are proving that they're not ready for the internet, and now they're dealing with certain topics.
I mean, it's generational in a lot of ways too, because like my grandparents, like they had a TV in like the basement.
Yeah. Everyone has that one racist relative. Can you imagine them on Twitter these days?
Well, yeah, but I'm not. Well, they're all on Facebook. All the old people.
It's true.
But I'm talking about like the people old enough to not be on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like they were like, if you watch too much TV, then they would bust your balls over it. They're like, oh, you kids are, they call it the idiot box. I don't know if you have family members that drop that on you.
Yeah.
But like now it's the same generation that was like, my parents are dumb, I'm gonna watch all the TV I want. That's like, oh, these kids need to stay away from the internet. So like there's some of that's in there. So I don't want to overstate the dangers, but there are some unique problems with the internet.
Well, no, I mean,
follow you forever.
The scary thing is during Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta, there was a streamer, a really big streamer, and he had a pretty big following. He actually worked with, I think, High Res Studios, which is a studio that made the game Smite, who got picked up for like soliciting, trying to have sex with a minor. He got charged with that over the weekend, and people are just like shocked about it. And I said, dude, I go, the problem is the scary thing about that is because he was involved in gaming and doing the stuff, like he definitely had more access to younger kids, and more of them per se than some of these other ones that got picked up. But still, the fact that I'm glad he got caught. But what's scary about like the child molesting?
How old was the kid?
I think they. Well, it was like a sting, kind of like a How to Catch a Predator sting. I can link you.
I missed your thing.
Oh yeah.
Just tell me like the age that they were posing the kid to be.
14.
Yeah, that's too young. That's over the. That's. See, I have like an issue because I did the Centoya Brown video.
Yeah. Where
she was 16, and I had people saying that I was defending a pedophile.
Yeah.
Which is, first of all, there's no evidence that guy knew. And I think somewhere in her testimony, she said that she told him that he was 18. But 16 is the age of consent in 30 of the states in the union.
Right.
And 17 is in there. So if it's like, if you get into that line, I think it's ridiculous. But 14, that's obviously way beyond any line. And like, like just because I think that the law would, like 16 is a sensible place because it's the vast majority of the country for the law. That doesn't mean you're not a scumbag if you're hooking up with 16-year-olds and you're, much older. But like 14, I'm not surprised by any of these streamers. There have been YouTubers that have been caught like with younger girls demanding that they send photos to them. Yeah. There's a guy being sentenced for it right now.
Yeah, it's insane. Like in when you're in like that place of power, or you know what I mean, like they're very impressionable at that time too. So, but I mean, he was 32, got picked up for the got picked up for it over the weekend, and everyone's just like kind of like in shock. And I go, what's scary about that is people like that, before they get caught on their first one, end up having an average. And this was a couple years ago. So when I used to do worship with a church and worked with youth ministry and stuff like that, and so they went through this training, and I forget the name of this institute, but they did some of the studies of this stuff, and they kind of taught us to like be on the lookout for certain things of that would be considered grooming. And it kind of opened up my eyes to like, whoa, you got to be kind of careful. And then it's just one of those weird things they say to trust your gut, because it's weird. Like you get those little Jeeper creepers from some people.
Yeah,
like,
well, you get. I think you may have dropped when you said the number, but I think the average is like 6 victims.
It's
that, right?
50 victims is what they've said.
I would think that would depend on like what the position is.
As far as
like maybe like for an online streamer, I wouldn't be surprised, because these guys have huge followings. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 200.
Well, yeah, as far as like getting like child pornography, it's probably a smaller number. But as far as like sexual assault or something like that, because that ranges more than actual sex, like with them and stuff like that. So I'd imagine like sexual victims, it might be lower. But the fact that they have on average of these people who molest children have an average of 50 and stuff like that. What scares me too is like with everything that's going out, like YouTube has a couple videos where they put a video of the virtuous child molester.
That's from like, it's on YouTube, but it's from one of these like regressive websites, like Salon or something.
Yeah. I think TED Talk had one that they're trying to normalize pedophilia and stuff like that, but they pulled it. The thing is that one of those guys ended up, it might have been Vox. Like, I don't want to slander any of these outlets, so I'm saying might have been. I don't know for sure. No, for sure.
Let me make that clear. But the one of the guys that they used, he used that notoriety to start contacting, like, that's you're doing something pretty awful when you're promoting that.
Yeah. Like,
but what I was gonna say is I have a move, because like a lot of these YouTubers get themselves in trouble. Yeah. So my amazing move, and I've never been DM'd by anybody. Like I actually do get some of my personal social media. I get contacted by clearly fake profiles.
Yeah.
So like that's part of the game or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I always do, and I used to do this even when I was like much younger, and I would like go on into chat rooms with my friends.
Yeah.
If somebody said that they were under a certain under 18, because the rules for images and all that's all 18 in this country. Like, yeah. So if somebody says that, I would always just message them like, I'm like, you're Chris Hansen. Like the Catch a Predator guy. So if you ever see like somebody, because people do that, they message people posing to as other people just so they can leak the messages later.
Yeah.
So if you ever see that from me, you're gonna see me calling them Chris Hansen in like 2 messages and like repeatedly doing it until they stop messaging me.
That's funny.
Like that's my ultimate defense. Like. But I think what happens is you have a lot of people not ready for fame.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of people not ready to, and like a lot of people that are successful on the internet were not successful people before the internet.
True.
So they don't you get picked on at school, and you don't have a lot of luck with women. So you're like, you don't know how to handle like fangirls, I guess is the word I'm going to use. So like they like I'm not trying to excuse their like behavior, but it's like because there's no excuse for it. Like you should know better.
Yeah.
And like like whatever position you have on age of consent or whatever, you should follow the law.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like I would never. I'm basically a lawyer on this, where I'm never going to advise you to break the law ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they don't know how to handle it, so they end up in situations like some of these guys are creepers from the start, but they
Yeah.
don't know how to handle it, and then like you're getting flooded with all these messages from women, and then you're like, oh well, I can get them to, like, it becomes like a power thing, like I
Yeah.
can get them to do that.
A lot of these, I don't know what's going to start happening, like, because the NFL, they kind of have like a program now, like to kind of help you, because a lot of these kids are, fresh out of college, that are still kind of being, babied, being forced to like babysit to go to classes in some situations, and then you're throwing a bunch of money, and I think they're doing a little bit better with like a program of helping these men, young boys become men, and whatnot. I almost feel like some teams can benefit from having like a team dad or whatnot,
Right.
and kind of keeping some of these kids out of trouble, or at least just kind of mentoring them in a healthy way. And what's scary when you're a broadcaster or something like this, you don't have that. Sometimes you're just lucky and you're just doing it on your own, and then it just
Yeah, it's hard because when like, yeah, like some people could use management, and
Mhm.
some people are fine without management, but for the athletes it's even harder because like you have a lot of these like content creators online, except obviously there's just people that are gorgeous,
Mhm.
like guys and girls, like there's a lot of successful people that also happen to look
Yeah.
like freaking male models, like
Li-
obviously
like us,
those
like totally
yeah,
us.
like me, but like me and you. But yeah, but like obviously those guys have been, if you're an attractive person, like let's keep it real, you've like people have treated you better
Hmm.
in general in your life. Like obviously attractive people can have hard lives, but
Yeah.
these athletes have that, you like, if they're like, a lot of these people, they know that they're going to be like an NBA superstar
Hmm.
when they're 14 years old, right? It's just they have that talent. They're already like 6 foot and all that. Like a LeBron James, like
Yeah.
he was on TV in high school,
Hmm.
and like they do that McDonald's All-Star game. Like these kids have been getting a free pass on everything since they
Yeah.
were like 13 years old. Like they've been passed through classes, so they don't know anything at all by the time that they become professional athletes.
Hmm.
So the fact that they go broke, like Allen Iverson, perfect example, made a ton of money as an NBA player,
Yeah.
great NBA player, pound for pound, like for somebody his size, maybe the
Hmm.
best NBA player of all time,
Oh, for
just
sure.
for somebody of that size.
Had
But
had amazing shoe deal with Reebok. With
yeah,
started with the
Allen Iverson,
question.
was broke like a year after leaving the league,
Yeah.
and he owed like $800,000 to Tiffany's because he was buying, like all that jewelry and all that. Like
Hmm.
not, and like the same was going to be true for Shaquille O'Neal, but
Yeah.
I think the story with him is that when he signed his Laker contract, his first Laker contract, he spent $1 million in a day. And his
Jeez.
agent, and this was back when your agent was allowed to give you financial advice.
Yeah.
His agent called him up and they're like, listen, he's like, I'm gonna send you, like, he sent him like newspaper articles of players that are broke, like begging for money. He's
Yeah.
like, this is gonna be you unless you know how to manage your money. And Shaq is still like an athlete that makes, $30+ million a
Oh
year
yeah.
because he went to business school after hearing that like wake up call from his agent, and he's like invested in Five Guys and like all these different companies
Yep.
because he went to school. Like he, like, like, and you don't even have to go to a formal school. You just have to, like, you know,
Just get the basic 101s.
yeah, because like a lot of these guys make, $30 million a year, and they spend $30 million a year. Vince Young, you're in Texas, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you didn't want that out there. Sorry,
No,
but
it's on my profile. I'm like in Austin area, so yeah, I'm good.
all right, it's a big state.
Hmm.
Um, but what you call it?
I'm a big
No,
dude. I ain't afraid of nobody. I'll mess
but
people
Vince,
up. No.
but Vince Young, like, former Texas Longhorn, signed a huge contract when he went into the NFL. After 5 years, he was broke, and I remember they looked at what he spent his money on. He made $60 million. He spent $59,500,000, like right when that contract ends. So as soon as he got that money, he was burning it.
Yeah.
And he would go to Five Guys, like not Five Guys, TGI Fridays twice a week, and he would just buy food for everybody in the restaurant. Like he would pay everybody's food. So he was spending like $60,000 on TGI Fridays
Yeah.
a week, and it's like he went broke and didn't spend. He didn't get anything for his money.
Jeez.
Like, that's a scary thing. And in the NFL, you have to go to college.
Yeah.
Like, but obviously he's passed through his whole life. Like, it's crazy what goes on. So yeah, a lot of these YouTubers are not ready for that. They haven't like lived a normal life, like especially a lot of these young ones.
Yeah.
And they also have a lot of people just constantly praising them all the time.
Yeah.
Like, they need to hear that they suck a lot more.
Well,
like,
I hear the YouTube comments can get kind of toxic as heck, but I think that's what's nice about Twitch is they'll troll you, but you can kind of ban them immediately, and no one really leaves any like negative comments on your stuff as much.
No, but people leave negative comments or whatever. Like that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But what happens on YouTube, and this is probably why there's plenty of YouTubers that I like, and like, but I always wait for. I don't reach out to anybody with like a larger audience than me. If they reach out to me, then that's great. Yeah. Right? Like no bullshit. He was debating veganism, and he reached out to me because I had a debate with a vegan.
Okay.
And he liked how that went, so he reached out to me so we could talk about like that argument. And me and him, we just talk movies or whatever. We don't talk like channel or business or all that, because what happens is when you see YouTube communities blow up, the reason why they blow up is because none of these people were friends to begin with. They're all friends of convenience.
Yeah.
And when you're in a large group and everybody's friends of convenience, as soon as it's inconvenient to be friends, like it's more convenient to attack that person, that's what happens. And like that's why you see all these communities melt down. And I'm not saying everybody's like that. Nuance Bro reached out to me because my audience kept telling me to collaborate with them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to reach out to him. I'm like, you guys have to make it happen. So I assume they just started harassing him, and like he reached out to me, and he's just like, he's a cool guy, and we talk like like minimally, but like about stuff separate from YouTube. Like sometimes we'll go like, where'd you get this stat for this video that you used or whatever. So like really minimal stuff, but like, and I'm sure he's a great guy and all that. And I've friends.
Yeah, I've soaked in both of you guys' content. It's similar in the sense of he tends to lead more of a question on the person to kind of make them think with the way he does it. He's like, well, why is this there? Why is this there? And whereas you as like, this is the fact. This is what happened. I read the 86-page paper on Michael Brown, so you don't have to.
Well, no, I linked the page. I'm like, go read it. Like, here's the paragraph. But I'm like, but my thing, the thing I was trying to make with him, or with any content creator, is there like, there's plenty of I've never really had somebody that I just like couldn't stand that I got into an argument with.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, I know that my friends are the people that I know in my real life. Like, I've been friends with the people I've been friends with since elementary school and junior high school.
Okay.
Like, those are the people that I live my life with. A lot of these content creators, like, that are young, they assume that the guy that they did a collaboration with, or the girl that they did a collaboration with, is their best friend in the whole world. And that's why you get like crazy amount of drama being like leaked out online. It's because people don't like, it's a lot of kids that grew up on the internet that don't know when to not share, when to share, and who to trust.
Gotcha.
And that's so like that's always been my perspective on the internet friends. Like, I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'm a polite person.
Yeah.
But and like I'll even talk a little more personal stuff off out of the public eye, but like these people that have all their business in public, like, like this guy was in a relationship for a green card or something, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, keep that to yourself.
I get some of it. Like, it's kind of refreshing in a way, but it's also scary, because then it's like, okay, you want to go through like grieving of if something bad happens, and now it's like you have to you have to put out a sad tearjerker video. Like, it feels like there's certain themes, and that's why I think PewDiePie has kind of been super successful, because he's been able to adapt and also deal with like huge controversy. And if anything, like the controversy is, as much as it sucks, like I don't get why they won't, like, the second season of the Scare PewDiePie is already done. It's already in the can, basically, as they like to say, and they won't release it yet. And I'm like, going, when are they going to? But then they're gonna sit there and release Logan Paul stuff. Like, the YouTube thing is going crazy, and I think that's similar happening to Twitch. And Twitch got bought by Amazon, and so I think we're starting to see a little bit more of the effects of it now. But they kind of let Twitch be Twitch for a long time, and I don't know, some of the stuff that's happening with like the terms of service is just kind of similar.
They're getting ambiguous.
Yeah, and it's not really ambiguous. It's just like, it's not very clear. Like, okay, this person gets a 30-day ban, then all of a sudden it got reduced to like a 2-day ban, and then they're still talking trash and they're still saying the same thing, and stuff like that. So it's just weird.
The thing, like, obviously I don't know PewDiePie from like an outsider point of view. I know that he started his channel when he was like waiting tables.
Yeah.
And and then he had to partner with a network to get monetization, because everybody had to back then.
Yeah.
And like the network deals you would get back then are notorious for like screwing you over.
He got
so like
hosed.
He had a lot of so like that stuff. Like, I'm not saying bad things are good, or like starting from a struggling place is good, but like you when you see him talk, or you like, or whatever, you could tell like he has a decent head on his shoulders.
Yeah. And
he doesn't get like, he has drama, but it's like media drama. It's never like his personal life or this giant meltdown with another YouTuber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very like, it's different from what you see from a lot of people. Like the Pauls, like where you see them getting like, they bring those two kids from Spain or from South America, I forget.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're living in the house, and they're like, like maybe abusing them, maybe not. I don't know what was ended up being proven. And like, it's just a different level of character. And they were just, they were Disney kids that they were huge on Vine, then they were Disney kids, then they're YouTubers, and they never had that, that moment of where you have to like learn, you have to be mature. You know what I mean? I think there's a certain amount of debt that you have to be in to be a good person at one point in your life.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know. It's not really like a lack of character, but it kind of is at the same time, because I don't want to like it's not a personal attack. I think it's just the mindset of they put the channel or the views ahead of what's morally right or what should be right. Does that make sense? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is a lack of character. It's a lack of people telling. It's a lack of people keeping you like tethered to reality, that you're not. Like, you got a lot of views on YouTube. Like, my number one most viewed video before the Adam Ruins Everything video was the Jenks Nephew is the worst video.
Yeah.
The audio in that video sucks. Like, and my lighting is not good. That was really early on in my like content creating days. Like, that video is not that great.
Yeah.
Like, I know that. I watch, like, I see that video every now and again when I have to link it.
Yeah.
In an iCard in a new video. And like, now YouTube's iCard system doesn't go back through your whole log. It goes to like, your last 20 videos. So I have to actually go and get that video. That video is not my best work. So like the views, in my opinion, the views are not always indicative of your success.
True.
Or your ability or your talent. There's a lot of luck. Obviously, before I did YouTube, I like researched the hell out of it. I went to school to edit. Like, so like my earlier videos, some of them will still have good editing, some of them will have bad editing. That's literally when I didn't have an editing computer and I was using that free software that you would get. But like,
yeah.
But before I did YouTube this go around, because I tried before and I just, I couldn't edit, so I had to say everything in one shot.
Editing videos is so tough, man. Like, so I'm kind of lucky that I can do Twitch, because then I don't have to worry about editing videos. I can kind of just cut this raw and just throw it up there. Like, I'm okay with that. It's probably not the best for YouTube, but it is what it is. If like my VOD's now in 2 places, if people want to find me there, then they can do it that way and stuff. And I think the correlation of there's the people who are really good at YouTube sometimes aren't great at Twitch, and then vice versa. But with your content, like I've enjoyed it like immensely. It's like it's very easy to consume. It's not very, like, there's some things that are kind of funny, but it's not like what you're trying to go for. It's like you're trying to kind of keep people honest. Like, kind of I enjoy that, and I think there's something refreshing about it.
I mean, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would say editing is not. I would say editing is not. I'm gonna say it's not hard, even though. So like editing was harder for me before I knew anything about like editing.
Yeah.
But when I went to school, so like my educational background is in criminal justice. Like,
yeah.
If you watch my videos, you know that.
Yeah.
When I was in school, I had 2 options. I could either do a bachelor's master's program where I'd earn both at the same time, or I could use my electives to take classes that I wanted to take. So I decided to take video production because I always wanted to do YouTube in some capacity or something with video. So that's where I learned to edit. But I also got a job after that. Like, I would do the editing for John Jay Online's criminal justice courses for graduate students.
Okay.
So I had like a bunch of years of experience editing. But before that, I didn't before that I wouldn't have known the basics. Like, you can separate audio and video. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so like it's if you have a reason, like if you have a reason to learn, I always recommend using Final Cut Pro because it's actually an easier like software to use, and you also buy it once, and you can use the trial in perpetuity. Yeah. Like, I bought Final Cut. Like, my channel has been around for like 2.5 years. Yeah. I bought Final Cut 4 months ago. So, so I used the trial for a long time.
It's a tax write-off.
Better than that. Yeah, well, better than that. I bought Final Cut. Maybe it was like 5 months ago, but I bought Final Cut like 5 months ago. Yeah. And it crashed the computer I was using. Oh no! So I had to buy another computer, like another MacBook, and then that one and I buy them used because I'm not rolling in the money. Yeah. And that one, the battery was fried. Okay. And just when I went to buy it off of eBay, I had an option for the battery. I could get a new battery or a used one, but they said the used one doesn't come with a warranty. And like even a used MacBook, that's like $1,000 machine.
No,
I'm like,
sure.
nah, I'm gonna get the new one.
Yeah.
So I got that. It stops working in like 3 days. So I went through like a bunch of computers in the middle of July.
Oh man.
And I should have just not paid for Final Cut ever. Like, that's the moral of that. Never pay for anything.
But, why buy the cow when you can milk it for free? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Well, you get more features. You get like a sound library, and you get like you can add in a bunch of stuff. So it's definitely worth it. But I always recommend Final Cut Pro 10, even though it's considered now just below a professional editing software, because Final Cut 7 was what I learned to edit on, and that's a professional editing software. Yeah. And like all the people that are like high-end editors, like, they poo-poo Final Cut 10. I'm like, look, when you buy Adobe, like, because I've seen Adobe, I've seen Avid. Yeah. Like, it is way more technical, but you don't need any of that for.
No, I love
for YouTube.
Yeah, you don't even. If you're photoshopping video, like pictures to throw in your video, you're an idiot. You're just adding more time to make your stuff there. But even then, like I've edited videos, made some like church videos. been able to do it all, but that's what I'm saying. I just don't have the patience for it anymore, because it's just, for me, like, I just don't have the payoff of, like, dude, it's going to take me an hour just to get a minute's worth that I like, and then even then I'm still not going to be, like, completely happy with it. But
I think when you get used to it, it's like the more you do it, the faster it will be. So right now, my videos are running a little longer, but like I could get a video from start to finish, from shoot to upload, depending on how crappy YouTube is running at the time. I can get it done in like 8 hours.
Okay.
And with breaks in the middle, because like I shoot and I do stuff that makes it take extra time. Okay. So I do my audio separately from my video, and I do it through a PC, and I run it through Audacity, where I add the effects, and then I merge it later in Final Cut. Okay. So if I cut that out, which I could do, I just buy a better camera that has a better mic input.
Right.
But like I could cut that out and not do that, or edit the audio in Final Cut instead of in Audacity.
True.
But like, and I also shoot everything very flat in terms of color, and I add in the color later.
Okay.
So if you ever see a video of mine where I look horribly sick, that's because I accidentally hit the wheel on my camera and I moved it off the proper settings, and then I couldn't fix the color in post. So I ended up looking green. But and there's a video of mine recently that looks like that, and I'm like, Jesus. But yeah, so like I shoot it flat because I do film work. So that's how you shoot it. I just set my camera settings exactly how I would set it for if I'm shooting a movie.
Okay.
So, and I do the color correction for it, because it makes the color it makes the colors come out better. Like,
gotcha.
Technically, and it's really a force of habit, because part of the reason why I do YouTube is to keep up on my editing.
Nice.
But like now it's my job, but that was like the original part of it. But yes.
Yeah.
So that takes time.
Yeah.
If you've ever done color correcting in Final Cut on, a 20-minute timeline, like that takes like, time for all that to render.
Yeah. Stupid rendering time, especially when it airs in the middle of it. That's always fun. Oh gosh.
But the rendering in Adobe Premiere and the rendering in
Final
Avid,
Cut,
it's so much longer.
Yeah, very true. Whenever we did the videos or anything like that, I always worked on a Mac and did it that way, used Final Cut. So this was also years ago too, so I don't even remember which one I was working on, but
it's probably 10, because Final Cut 10 has been around since like 2011.
It would have been earlier than that, actually.
It might have been 7 then.
Yeah. So, but yeah, because it was in almost shit. It was like 10 years ago now. At least. It was in like 2005, 2006, and 7, and 8.
Yeah, it would have been Final Cut 7.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, 10 or X is much easier to use.
Okay. So,
like, it might be a thing to get you back into it. That's why people say it's not professional.
Yeah.
But like, again, you don't, like, people are, first of all, I've edited actual movies on it.
Yeah.
And like they've come out perfectly fine.
I think I would edit very crappy videos, and I'd be like, I would end up doing like some stupid radio voice, and I'd be like, all right, man, we're here today talking about what's going on with the Young Turks. They are shitting on everything, guys. And then I just, in the back of my mind, I would just sound so cheesy like that. No, like, on stream, I feel like it could be more chill, but yeah.
One of the things I hate about my older videos is that I would actually call myself my channel name. So I'd be like, what's up, guys? The actual Justice Warrior here. It's like I have to watch those back in the future and be like, oh, cringe.
It's not as bad. At least you don't have any video of you like pouring chocolate on your naked body so that I have done. So at least you haven't done that yet.
I mean, I don't have that video. My ex-girlfriend might, but like she was into some crazy things.
Oh man. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You said your brother watching something with your brother. I'm going to continue streaming, but before you go, just a couple quick questions. Who are some of your favorite streams, or not streams, but content creators or YouTubers that you enjoy?
So I'm gonna go outside of my genre,
Yeah.
because one of the things I really enjoy is learning.
Yeah.
So I really like Company Man,
Okay.
which is because I admire like how businesses are built, and it's a channel that's just about the rise and sometimes the fall of companies. So Company Man, I definitely recommend him. Very entertaining videos. I like Thunderfoot's science videos. Like I learned a lot about nuclear power from him.
Uh-huh.
Um, as far as creators in my genre, like everybody knows who they are, and I don't have like a small creator to shout out offhand. So
Yeah.
but yeah, and there's a bunch of those videos where you'll like how big is the universe kind of videos that I enjoy watching. So like
Is
I like them, and also Nerd Soup for like Game of Thrones reviews. They do a good job, and they animate, and I love it.
okay.
So
What about what about what is it? What about the Earth? Is it flat or is it round?
it is round. My collaboration video with No Bullshit was about how the Earth is round.
Do you, since we're on Twitch and games are usually majority of some of the stuff here, do you tend to, what sort of, do you play any video games, or are there any games that you do like?
I play. So I don't play any modern games like now. Like I play. I really break out my Super Nintendo and play those games. Like those old Super Nintendo games that I love. I love Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Okay.
And I love the Metal Gear Solid series. So like I basically bought a PlayStation 3 to play Metal Gear Solid. And now I have a PlayStation 4, and like Spider-Man is in my house, but I haven't touched it.
Oh, dude,
Hey,
you got it. That game is amazing.
Well, I
It's
did
so
a little
good.
bit of the combat stuff like with my brother, but I haven't like played it like all the way through. It's just I don't know. There was like a point where like gaming like got away from me, and I'm like I can't catch up. It's over. My I used to go to like, and when I was like 13, I used to go to internet cafes and play Counter-Strike and StarCraft. So it's like just one point it just clicked away from me.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Spider-Man's so good. It's such a good thing. Such a good game. There's also um, I don't know, just some of the suits. I had fun. I'd never really, what is it? Like 100% a game. That game I did. It was amazing.
I got, so I love Metal Gear Solid so much. I bought the collector's edition,
Okay.
and I downloaded the trophy patch for 4, which is huge.
Yeah.
And I did it so I could get all the trophies for all those games.
Okay.
So I have like 4 platinums on PlayStation 4.
Hells yeah.
It's all Metal Gear Solid.
Well, guys, this was Sean. I really, really appreciate you coming on here. Nice to kind of get to know you, and hopefully, if some of your, I'll probably post this on YouTube, so maybe some of your viewers can watch it and kind of learn a little bit more about you that you maybe not share in your videos all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Please tweet me out the link if you upload it on YouTube, and I'll drop it in my community tab.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely, definitely want to do more of this stuff. People who agree, disagree with some of the stuff. I want to get more diving into some of these political talks, and hopefully, love to have you back on here whenever you'd like, and tackle some of the issues that are happening, and kind of get your perspective, or even host a debate if you needed to, man. So it'd be real fun.
Well, thank you. It was a fun conversation. I definitely ran over the time that I said I was going to be on.
I know.
But,
that's why I was trying to cut it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's what you call it. It happens naturally.
Yeah.
I'll definitely come back on. I don't like. I'm sorry that it took so long. It's just like when you originally messaged me, it was around Christmas time and all that. So
my plan was to kind of get it going around this time anyway. So I know it takes time to get schedules mixed, or schedules synced up. It's not even offended by it or whatever else. It's part of the thing. I know. So don't feel bad at all, man.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Just again, link me the stuff. Thank you for having me on. You're gonna stay on the stream, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay live, so feel free to drop out of the Discord if you want, and then I'm gonna continue having some discussions with people, or maybe play some Fortnite. I don't know yet. We'll decide. I'm getting trolled right now in chat, so this will be fun.
All right. Have a great night, man. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. That was Sean. You can check him out at Actual Justice Warrior. I'm gonna link his channel. Make sure you guys check it out. Be nice on his comments. He was on there. What's up, Irish? How you doing? I'll tweet out his channel again tonight. So if you guys are following me on Twitter, just he's more of a libertarian. Has more of a calling out or kind of accountability type stuff. His stuff is very easy to watch, man. I love it. I kind of almost watch all his stuff within a few weeks, just because of some of the stuff that I've been trying to learn about politics wise and get a different perspective. And what I like about his stuff is he usually uses a lot of stats and or references, and he also links that stuff, and so he kind of can back up what he's saying. He also made a fool of Chink's nephew, so that's always funny to me, at least. And so I've been having a blast lately, just doing these chill talks and talking about kind of stuff that kind of matters to me, I guess. Not really matters to me, but more stuff that I kind of relate with and being able to talk with other people. I really I really have a passion for wanting to do more of this, especially getting as we get more of the political views of people on here, and sometimes they may not agree with it. I don't know, but we'll see. Let's see here.